Yes, are you all ready? Dr. Battle is standing by. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Battle. I am just so honored to being able to connect with her. I want to thank Dr. Ronald Rimbert. You all know who Dr. Ronald Rimbert Jr. is, and I want to thank him so much for this connection. Dr. Battle is the CEO and founder of Dr. Kim Today LLC, home of Dr. Kim Today Academy. She is a respected physician, author, speaker, and coach with a special interest in the health and wellness of women in leadership roles. She has been in clinical practice for nearly 30 years, and during which time she established a successful practice caring for chronically ill adults and children in their home and office. She is also in a leadership role as a medical director for several large medical systems. Please give a warm welcome to our guest doctor, the very first one this year of preventative measures, Dr. Kimberly Battle. Hey, Kimberly. I think you're on mute. Turn your mute off. I think you're on mute. There
I
you go.
got you.
There it is.
Hello, Kat. How are you?
I'm so excited to have you on the show. Thank you so much. You all don't understand how busy doctors are, and I count it a honor and a privilege when they can come and hang out on my show. Thank you so much.
It's my honor. Thank you for having me. I truly appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, yes,
Anywhere I
yes,
could
yes,
share information where we can take care of ourselves and each other, I'm open always.
yes. So, what are we going to talk about today, Dr. Battle?
We're going to talk a little bit about caregivers. When we talk about preventative measures, caregivers are at high risk for neglecting themselves and developing illnesses. As they're trying to care for someone else, we just tend not to care for ourselves. So we're going to talk about preventing, making ourselves as caregivers unhealthy.
Okay. Well, let's go
Mhm.
ahead and dive on into it. So, Dr. Battles is going to tell us some significant information about caregiving and being a caregiver. And then I want you people to know, people that are viewing, we're going to be taking questions. So, if you have a concern or a question, put it in the chat, and we're going to try to get as many questions as we can. So, I'm going to turn it
Mhm.
to you, Dr. Battle, and you can go ahead and start it how you want to.
Okay, and what I would say is, Kat, is that I know we have a presentation prepared,
Hmm.
but I'm always open to flow in whatever manner works for you.
Okay.
Okay, so if there's more questions that need to come up, I'm really good with that. If you have to interrupt the presentation at
Okay.
any time,
Thank
okay.
you, Dr.
Let me
Battle.
share that. And then you're sharing your screen. I'm sharing mine.
I'm going to share it for you.
Okay. You need me to upload it. Let me
Yeah,
just
I
pull it
think you
up
did
for
the.
you.
I want to say
Yesterday.
we did the PDF. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Dr. Battle is getting that going. Want to send some shout outs. Gary Smoot, how are you doing? Oh my goodness. Happy birthday, Gary. Sally Hill. Hey, Auntie Leisha Leash. Karani is holding it down on the Twitch side, moderator, the best moderator on this side of heaven. Hey, Karan. Brian Barzy from the Boogie Down Bronx. That's a tongue twister. I don't even know what I said it right. I'll get it right eventually, Brian. Marilyn Ford. Herman Miller Jr. Hello. Welcome to FNL. Uh,
That's my bowl.
is it? Hey,
Mhm.
welcome, welcome. Oh yeah, welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. Um, Lyle Mays Forever. Hello, hello. Thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in. Marilyn Ford. Hey, Donna O'Neill. Did you win that book earlier, girl? You're gonna love it. Let's see.
Mhm.
Earl Scene Gerald. Walter Williams is the president of the NAACP in the Edwardsville, Southern Illinois district. Wow, yes. Um, Tina Wilson. Hey, and Bonnie Wilson. Hey, Shirley MBC. That's mom. Hey, mom. So grateful that she said the storms were passing over the family house, so she didn't have any damage in Chicago. All right, got some more comments.
Blanche Battle on YouTube.
Blanche? Hi, Blanche Battle. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, that's my mama.
Hey, Mama Battle. Oh, cool. Teresa Thomas. Hello, hello. She said, "Hey, cute." Let's see. Gary, if I could sing, I would sing happy birthday to you, but that is not my anointing. And one thing I have learned is you need to stay in your lane. Now, I can MC a program, I can do all that good stuff, but I cannot sing. How you doing, Dr. Battle? You all right?
I am
You can sing.
okay.
Okay. Felicia Linear. Hey, hello. Uh-oh. Okay, Dr. Battle, we lost Dr. Battle for a second. So we'll wait for her to come back. All right. I think with the weather, some weird stuff is going on. Gary, that is not fun. You know I can't sing. Let's see. I was over here. Oh, you want to sing for Gary? Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Gary. Okay, Dr. Battle is back. Let me see if she can get it up. How you doing, Dr. Battle?
Okay. I'm trying to upload it to you now. Let me see if you see it.
Okay.
Otherwise, the one is there from yesterday.
Yeah.
You could see that.
Okay. Dr. Miss Gerald said you better sing,
You know,
Cheryl.
I wanted to make a comment about Miss Tasha. Where was she when I was putting three boys through school? We really
Tasha,
needed that
sh-
information. Yes, that was a wonderful presentation and a good service. I wish
thank you.
we
Thank you
had it
so much. Let me see. All right, here we go, Dr. Battle. Yes, we cooking with grease.
available. And all right, you are you controlling? I'm controlling.
You controlling.
Think I
I'm
control.
listening.
Okay, okay. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you. I'm here to talk about a topic that I started my day with. Because when we talk about caregivers, it's mothers caring for kids, fathers caring for kids, parents caring for each other, whether you're caring for someone elderly in your life, someone ill in your life, whether you're a manager of a team and you're caring for the people on your team, all of that counts as caregiving when you think about caring for yourself. But as usual, I am going to start with my disclaimer just to say that I am providing information. I am not making recommendations. I am just sharing information. If you need additional information, I am always available at drkimnaday.com. So www.drkimnaday.com if you need to shoot me an email or if you have a specific question. I am not standing in the gap as your physician, but just to provide information to the community, which I am charged to do. So that's my disclaimer in long and in short. And we're going to jump right in. I like to do it a little bit information style, and then Kat will jump just right into freestyle, the way your show flows the best. Um,
Sounds good. I'm sharing it to some caregiver groups while you're talking.
okay. And what I want to do is start with a few statistics, and it's just a couple, but I think it's important for you to know the risk to caregivers. Um, Right now, we know that there's about 53 million caregivers in the United States. And I would say that since the pandemic, that number has probably gone up, I would venture to say, because there was a lot of debility as a result of COVID. So we have a lot of people with long COVID who are needing care as well as our usual population. About 60% of caregivers are female. I don't think that was news to anyone. Women care for each other, but that also means that 40% are male. People often don't provide support to male caregivers, but I just want you to keep that in the back of your mind for those around you. About 56% of caregivers report that they have to make job accommodation. And you'll see that that impacts us financially. So a lot of women have to leave their jobs to provide care. whether they're in their home or someone else's home or running back to a facility to care for someone, or if they're raising multiple children in their home. That's considered caregiving as well. And sometimes women often have to leave their jobs. Men less so, but occasionally they have to leave their jobs to care for others. And that puts us at risk, both financial risk, mental and physical risk. Most caregiving is full time. About a third of caregivers provide care full time, some part time basis, some intermittent. So maybe someone is well and then has an acute illness, and you have to care for them for a little while, and then they can recover from that illness, and you can return to your life. So caregiving occurs in many facets. When we talk about the financial difficulties, they are numerous. Starting with, if you have to hire a caregiver outside the home, it can be very expensive. The state and federal government sometimes will provide for caregiving depending on the category it's in, if it's related to someone's health or level of debility or disability. um, then you may be able to get some financial support. But for the most part, it's out of pocket caregiving, whether you're buying supplies, medications, food, other equipment to help care for the person in home. Or again, when we talk about the fact that you're incurring these expenses, yet you may have had to leave your job to provide care. The financial impact of caregiving can be pretty devastating sometimes. As far as symptoms, and this speaks of symptoms related to the caregivers, not the ill person you may be caring for or the other people you may be caring for, but as a caregiver yourself, there's 40 to 70%. So about 2/3 of caregivers report that they experience depression and anxiety. Never mind the aches and pains, the depression and anxiety, and that makes caregiving even more difficult. There's a very high level of stress and burnout if you're a caregiver. And so the main thing is not to depress everyone with these numbers, but to make you aware. Because if you're aware this can occur, then you may intervene early. And that's why we're talking about preventive measures. Um, and then the final demographic is that about a third of the caregivers are age 65 or older. Okay, I'm almost there. I'm 60. But just imagine, the older you become, caregiving becomes more difficult. Whether you're a grandmother raising your grandkids, caring for a spouse in the home, someone else elderly, caring for an ill child, it becomes more difficult as you get older. But I have caregivers who are well into their 60s, 70s, 80s, and several 90-year-olds who are caring for either siblings or their child in their home. Mm-hmm. And then we know that about a third of caregivers are African American or Hispanic in ethnicity. So I always like to share this quote, that is not the load that'll break you down, because we carry a lot of loads even beyond caregiving. So whether you're working, helping a friend out, whether you have two jobs or one job, we carry a lot of loads. But it's not so much the load that'll break you down, it's the way that you carry it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We'll give you a couple suggestions on how best to manage your health and your well-being while you're caring for someone else. Okay, some of the reasons it's important. Caregiving is important. Not everyone has the honor of caring for someone. There's just sometimes, I want to put it on the table, where you have to place your loved ones maybe in a facility, a nursing home, an assisted living home, and you're not able to care for them at home. And I want to say that's okay. There are a lot of important aspects to the person who are being cared for, but you may not always be able to provide them, and that's okay. But those who are able to provide caregiving, just so that you know the quality that you bring to someone's life, just having that support and being able to care for someone can improve their quality of life. It can also increase their longevity of life. I am a physician. In my current practice, I practice palliative medicine, which are patients with advanced and chronic illness, serious illness. And some of those patients transition from palliative care into hospice, not because of their disease, but often because of lack of caregiving. We have some seniors, some debilitated, some ill people who are living at home, and they're so sick they can't provide their own meals. They can't care for themselves well, and that tends to make them decline faster. And what we've learned is that if patients are in a pretty ill or seriously ill state, if they have someone to help care for them, that actually improves their quality of life. Someone who's just making sure they're getting 2 to 3 meals every day, someone to make sure they're drinking fluids, someone to make sure they have someone to socialize with and they're not sitting isolated in their home. So there are benefits to the person that you're caring for. And then the benefits to you if you're providing care. And I apologize for the slides. It seemed that the PowerPoint, um, the slides are a little bit off. The PDF worked a little bit better, but we're going to work through it anyway. So if you're caring for someone, there are some benefits to you when you provide care. It helps, it makes you feel pretty good, a sense of fulfillment and purpose when you're caring for someone that you love. It also can improve your skills. So if you can survive caregiving and taking care of yourself, you have a whole new set of skills at the end. And that's why a lot of people who are caregivers actually end up caring for more than one person or are caregivers for a lifetime. Once you develop that skill, once you learn how to take care of someone else and yourself, it makes caregiving that much easier. And then also, it'll increase your empathy and compassion for others. Once you've walked in the shoes of a caregiver, taking care of someone else, whether you've raised multiple kids, like I said, whether you have a team as a manager and you have to care for others, if you've been a caregiver, you have a different level of empathy and compassion for other people. And you're able to see more often the positive intent in what people say and do, and you're often able to identify needs in others sooner once you've been a caregiver. But as much benefit, there's also risk, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I want you to hear the risk so we can talk about how you can prevent them. They don't happen in all, they don't have to happen in all, but surely if you neglect yourself, you'll be at risk for experiencing all of these risks, whether it's physical, mental, or financial. So let's speak physical first. Um, when you're caring for someone, especially someone with a disability, so we'll talk about if you're caring for someone who's ill or even elderly or has a disability. Often, when you're providing physical care, you have to do a lot of lifting. Sometimes you're doing bathing, you're transferring them from bed to chair. If you've never been trained on how to do that properly, then you can injure your body. Even those who have been trained in the field of medicine. So whether it's a nurse's aide, a nurse, sometimes when you're caring for someone at home, you don't bring those same techniques home and you put yourself at risk. So it's all the moving, the physical, the bending, the lifting that can injure you. There's also risk of
Dr. Battle, I was gonna
Go ahead.
Dr. Battle, I was gonna ask you about that. I was gonna ask you about that, like training. Like, okay, so if you're a nurse or you have some kind of medical background, I get it. But what if you're not a
Mhm.
nurse and you want to care? You want to help take care of a family member. Is there some kind of courses or training that are required, or do you have to have some kind of certification to do that, or how does that work?
The sad truth is that there is not a requirement, but it's something you should do. So I always recommend if someone is in the hospital and you know you're going to bring them home and have to care for them, you have to, and you'll have to advocate for yourself. You'll have to
Hmm.
request for the nurse or the nurse's aide or the doctor to train you on how to care for that person before you bring them home. They won't do it intuitively. We used to have to do it before someone left the hospital. The
Yeah.
family member had to be trained. That went out the window when you have to see so many patients. There's less time at the bedside. So make sure you request it. If someone is in the hospital, you're taking them home, request that you be trained how to care for them, how to lift them, how to transfer them from bed to chair if you have to do that. If they can't get out of bed, how to roll them side to side. So request that. If you are fortunate to go home with home health nursing, and you can request that, the nurses will teach you how to do that in your home, nurses and nurses aid. Similar, if you're fortunate, um, um, that you'll have the support of hospice when you go home. So, in someone who's very ill, maybe approaching end stage disease in their last 6 months or so of life, if you can get the support of hospice, they give you phenomenal training. The nurses come in and train you, and the nurses aides will come in and train you how to care for your loved one. They'll help you do it, but they'll make sure you know how to do it and do it properly. And then, short of that, there's always YouTube videos that'll help you. So the internet has been wonderful in that capacity, in being able to get training. All you have to do is Google how to care for someone who's bedbound, how to care for someone to get them from the bed to the chair, how to help feed someone who can't feed themselves. So make sure, like they said, make sure you advocate for yourself. I see one of those comments to request that support. Otherwise, you can look it up on the internet.
I'm
Hmm.
glad that there's an option where you can get some kind of training if you need it. Because I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want to put my loved one in a nursing home. To me, that's not really an option. But if I don't have the training, it's good to know that it's out there where I can get it so that I can take care of my loved one.
Yeah, and it's
Thank you, Dr.
important,
Battle.
Kat, it's really important that you actually have that training, because not only can you injure yourself, you can injure your loved one too. We deal with a lot of falls and injuries because of uh, lack of training. It's not intentional, but it can occur.
Right.
But if you train, you can help protect both of you, both the person you're caring for and yourself. Mhm.
Okay.
Um, some of the other risks we'll talk about. The physical risk is the risk of actual illness. Um, so I'll say I'm relatively well, but I provide care for both my dad and my godmom now in my home. Before, it was running back and forth to their home. So the illness is real, because between the exhaustion, the stress, your immune system will actually go literally into the toilet when you're up under chronic stress, lack of rest, stressing your body out. So you're at great risk for that. And we'll talk about how to avoid some of that. The other risk is that if you have medical problems, even if you don't have medical problems and you start experiencing symptoms, if you neglect to go and figure out what's going on with you, something that could have been prevented by the time you show up at the doctor to take care of yourself may be in advanced stage. So I would just say make sure you know that these risks are real and there's ways to prevent them. The mental health is really real in caregivers. I want to stress that because this is actual mental health month in African Americans, by the way, and Blacks. July is mental health month. As a caregiver, you're at high risk. If you ever went into the hospital and a social worker speaks with you, they will kind of survey you or question you to see if you are experiencing stress or depression. So it's being isolated from others. It's the stress of always doing the caregiving, the lack of rest, the lack of nutrition that you can experience, both stress, anxiety, depression, the guilt of saying, Lord, I wish this was over. Why did I take this on? The guilt that's related to that. And then the grief sometimes, as you see someone decline that you're caring for, there's anticipatory grief because you actually see what's going on. And most important is the frustration. And I'll say the frustration is real, because sometimes you're so busy caring for someone and you know you need some help and no one will reach out and help you. And then it just becomes a vicious cycle. You get angry, you get more depressed, you get more anxiety. So all of this is a vicious circle. So we're going to definitely talk about taking care of your mental health. And then last, the financial I already mentioned, between the cost of caring for someone, if you have to leave your job, and then legalities too. If you can't access that person's finances, trying to get permission to access their finances, all of that is real. So I'm going to say what we recommend and what we'll focus on. These are all the ways that you can help mitigate some of this stress. These are all preventative measures in caring for yourself. So prioritize yourself first. Okay. It's kind of like they say on the airplane, put your mask on first and then care for somebody else. How you prioritize yourself can vary. There's a lot of different ways. I actually started my call today at work. The manager who led the first call of the day at 7:30. This is what her opening reflection was about us caring for ourselves. Take some time this weekend to do something for yourself. And because of time and the opportunity for people to ask questions, I'm going to probably end with this slide. But prioritize your health if you can. Exercise when you can. You don't have to get out the house to exercise. It's wonderful if you can. But if you have anywhere in your home, any floor room, any walking room, um, take 10, 15 minutes. We know you don't need 30 minutes an hour, 10, 15 minutes every day, 3 times a week, walking back and forth in your home or just doing some stretches can make a huge difference. Eat right as you can. I always say, do something for yourself. And if you can, make it something that's not food and doesn't cost you money, because my self-care techniques for the longest was always I took myself to lunch. I always took 30 minutes out of a week. I took myself to lunch. I'm gonna tell you, those pounds added up over time. So I found other things to do to care for myself other than eat. I loved it though. And so now I might eat, but now I do other things for self-care. And then try not to make it something that costs money, because for a lot of people, you're already in a financial burden, and you can create even more stress and debt by always making your pleasure or what's for you or your me thing something that costs you money. Try and just reach out to other. You can try journaling. You can try writing down your thoughts. If you like to meditate or do yoga, absolutely, you can try that. For those who are really stressed or depressed, please just take some time and maybe reach out to a counselor or a therapist. All of that is online now. You don't even have to go into someone's office to get therapy. Take some breaks. Take 5, 10 minutes. Sit, kick your feet up. Take a bath at night. Go to bed on time. Lack of sleep can increase all of your symptoms, your anxiety, your stress, your level of frustration. A good night's sleep can make a difference. So just say one night a week, I'm going to get 8 hours. Have someone else sit with that person if you need to. Do what you can to just practice good hygiene for yourself so you don't get illness. One of the things I always talk about when we talk about illness and boosting your immune system, and I'll have to come back for this, cat, another platform on vitamin D. Vitamin D is
Yes.
known to be wonderful for your total body. You have vitamin D receptors literally from your head to your toe. God put them there for a reason, and we know we have a lot of literature to show the benefits of vitamin D, and boosting your vitamin D level to where you're not vitamin D deficient. And vitamin D deficiency, by the way, is very common in darker skinned individuals, but especially in our African American population. So if you need any more information, if you can't wait for the next few shows for that, you can reach out to me as well on drkimtoday.com. And I actually have a QR code at the end. That's a website where you can go and learn about vitamin D3. Um, Also, one of the things you can do as far as prioritizing yourself, get out and see people, see your girlfriend, see your family, make a phone call, sit down, joke and laugh, do all of those things. And I think with that, Kat, I'm going to close out the slides. I'll bring up the last slide, but because this really just reiterates a lot of what we said. There's resources that I can send anyone if they need them. If you reach out to me at drkimtoday.com and just request a resource list. The resource list, I want to say that you cannot do everything. You do not know everything. Either get on the internet or request that someone who understands how to work the internet and the computer go on for you and just Google whatever your question is, and resources will come up. There are various resources, both financial, both for your medical help, as far as caregiving, and you see the list here, they are numerous. Mhm. Okay, I'm open for any questions and conversation, Miss Cat.
Yes. Okay. So you guys, thank you, Dr. Battle. That was very informative. I've learned so much about caregiving that I didn't even know existed. And while we're waiting on some questions, you all think of some good questions to ask Dr. Battle. I know some of you may be caregiving your loved ones, or may have or considering doing it in the future, or you are caregiving. So we, even if it's just a comment, put it on there, and we'd love to hear what you have to say. But I did not realize, Dr. Battle, that um, caregiving could cause depression, anxiety,
Mhm.
stress, frustration. And I want to thank you for helping us, giving us some ideas of how to um, get some relief. And one
Mm.
thing that you said that I thought was very, very important was you got to have some kind of balance. Like,
Yes.
first of all, you have to prioritize yourself. You're not going to be able to take care of nobody else if you sick or if you are worn out. And so
Mhm.
that was really, 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 really key.
Mm.
Let me see. Let me see.
And then I want to add, I
Um,
just want to give you a funny example of how it comes out because you may not aware how much stress you're under. And I have been in the house caring for two individuals for a while. I'm still working a full-time job. I have the support of some of my family, but I was the primary. And my sister called me
mhm.
one day and she said, "Did you get dad's phone fixed?" And I literally went berserk. I
Wow.
went off. I'm like, if you worried about having his phone fixed, why don't you come over here and do it? You know what I'm dealing with over here. I just went totally off. And it was so extreme. That was my first clue to me that I was approaching a point of burnout and that I had better stop what I was doing and practice what I preach and taking care of myself. So if you're a caregiver, if you're a manager of a team, if you're responsible for anyone except yourself and you have an extreme reaction to things, just stop, pull back, and see if that's more about you and less about the actual incident that you just went off about. And it was more about me. I brought, at that point, we hired a caregiver who helped take some of the load off of my back. I was able to get back to exercising the way I had been prior to this. And then I was able to
Mhm.
find myself again. So I just want to say that sometimes you won't notice it in yourself, but beware, it can happen.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking you probably didn't even know how worn out or frustrated you are until they just mess with that last nerve, especially if you're like doing everything and you have siblings or you have other people that are not even trying to help. I can get where that can be really frustrating. But
Yeah.
also you mentioned um okay, you told us that we can get our training. I wanted to ask you, when should the nursing home be an option? Say you're someone, you don't want to put your loved one in the nursing home, but is there a situation when that should be considered?
Yes, there are some situations where we actually will recommend it. I'll say as a medical team, there are some times that we will bring patients into a hospital just to transition them to a nursing home. I'll give some example, especially if you have someone with dementia, different forms of dementia. As they progress, you'll get some behavioral disturbances, and sometimes patients can become, or your loved one can be very aggressive in the home. So if they're at risk of hurting themselves or someone in the home, then that's a good time to consider moving them to a nursing home. Two, if you are burnout or if your health is impaired and caring for someone makes you worse, um, that's a time to consider. I want to say this, not to be insensitive, but to tell you the reality. We bury as many caregivers sometimes as we do patients because the caregivers have neglected themselves so they haven't taken care of their medical problems and they die as a result of their medical problems that have been neglected.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
we're in a stressful place of trying to find caregiver for this person. We typically will pull them in the hospital right away until we can find another caregiver. But this is why I speak about this often and as wide as I can, because it's wonderful to be a caregiver, but know your life and your health are at risk if you don't take care of yourself. You're talking about preventive measures. If you can take preventive measures, you can care for someone for a long time. If you don't, they can end up burying you.
Wow. Um when you were talking about when you were frustrated, you went off. Teresa Thomas said she snapped.
I did. I'm telling you, I straight snapped. It was so funny. My husband came out the room upstairs and he was like, "Ooh, what's going on down there?" And he went right back in his room. And then he did talk to me later. He's, he did talk to me later because there's a time and
I
place for
have quite a few.
everything.
Oh my God. I have quite a few comments, and a lot of them is thank you, Dr. Battle. Very informative, great information. Marilyn Ford says she's going to reach out to you about more information on vitamin D. So maybe we should talk about that, like on another show, and the importance of vitamin D3. We
Yeah.
should talk about that. And then Teresa Thomas, she wants that list. Where did I see it at? There was a list, I think, of all of the
Oh, the
that
resource list.
reference list of all the
Hmm.
resources, and she was wanting me to put in the comments, and I don't think I can. What I can do, I can put it on my Facebook page. I don't know if we can copy and paste right off of my media director is going to try. Um,
Does she want me to go back to the
Herman,
slide? And people
yeah,
can
if you go back to
screenshot
what
it
we're
too.
talking, yeah,
Yeah, let me do
yeah, they
that.
can screenshot it. Good idea, yeah. So Dr. Battle's going to go back to it. Let me move this so they can see it. So you all can take a picture with your cell phone or whatever, so
Yeah,
that you can have that while we're talking. Um,
yeah, and that's an excellent list, and that's more. I just put as
yes.
much as I could on one page, but the list is vast. And if you need to reach out to me, absolutely. If it's something very specific you're looking for resources for, let me know. And you know what, Kat, I didn't mention it to you, but I'll bring it up. Is
Hmm.
that we're
Okay.
going to do in the south suburbs? There are a couple churches. We're going to get together and do a retreat for caregivers because I made a declaration that I would start doing that. We'll do like a day and a half retreat for caregivers. Um, and we'll do it
Hmm.
in different areas. So I'll make sure I provide you with that information when I do, but I'll definitely put it on my website when we set a date. But I'm going to push to do it quarterly, and we'll have different groups. So maybe I'll have some where there's leaders who are trying to balance work and family and life. I'll do it where there's
Hmm.
actual caregivers, where you're caring for someone who may be ill in the home, because then we can bring in trainers on how to care for someone. And we can do it during that retreat. So we'll get different populations, but I'll make sure that you have it. And I'm going to look to do them at least quarterly. Um,
Yeah, and I can put the information on the page so they can get that. That'd be wonderful. Thank you
mhm.
so much, Dr. Battle. Lori says it's so costly having someone in a nursing home, which leaves many with
Ooh.
no choice but to bring the loved one back home.
Hmm. I'm gonna just tell you, I inquired. I would say almost foolishly, and now I've been working in medicine over 30 years, like you said, sending people to nursing home back and forth. I went down and talked to
Mhm.
the social worker. She said $10,000 a month to be placed in the nursing home for my dad. $10,000 a month. I'm not sure how many people have $10,000 a month to put their loved one in a nursing
Right,
home. Yeah.
right.
The VA does offer benefits though, so make sure you check one with your insurance. Make sure you check with VA. Make sure you check with Catholic Charities because they can provide support. And I'll say if your loved one was a veteran, don't make any assumption. Call the VA. They have so many services available. If you're caring for your loved one at home, they'll pay a certain amount for a caregiver to come into your home. VA, Catholic Charity, a couple other organizations will pay for a caregiver, maybe not full time, but at least part time, to give you some relief. They also offer what's called respite. That's where sometimes you can place your loved one in a nursing home, maybe for a week if you wanted to take a trip or if you just needed a break. They'll pay for respite as
Hmm.
well. The best support we have in the community is hospice. If you have someone with advanced illness who you think may die, if the doctors say they may die in 6 months to a year, then you can benefit from hospice. I know people have a fear of hospice, um, but I will tell you, it's the best support in the home. They say they may die. They don't have to die. No one can predict when someone is going to die. And actually, hospice is known to prolong life because once you get a nurse in there who's checking on your medications and that you're eating, once you get all the
Hmm.
supplies that you need and a nurse's aide to help care for your loved one, and a doctor, a hospice doctor will follow the patient as well. Sometimes you can prolong life, but they can surely make the quality of life better for the caregiver as well as the patient. So if you qualify for hospice, it's a Medicaid benefit. So Medicaid will pay for it, Medicare will pay for it, and a lot of insurances will pay for a hospice as well.
Okay. I can attest for that because I was shadowing I think it was an RN nurse. It's been so long, but I was shadowing her, and her job was to go around and go visit the patients, and
Mm-hmm.
that because I used to think hospice just meant death, like
Mm-mm.
they're on their lap, but it doesn't mean that, and
Mm-mm.
that's when I learned what you just said. I can't put it as well as you did, but it doesn't necessarily mean that someone is about to die. I mean, in some instances it is, but that's not always the case. In my
Correct.
head, I thought that's
Mm-hmm.
what hospice meant, where there's nothing else that they can do, and but that is not the case. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that would be wonderful if someone can qualify for that to get some extra help.
Yeah.
Um,
And hospice.
Blanche is Blanche.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's my
No, no,
mom.
no.
Go
Go ahead.
ahead, Blanche.
Blanche, Mama Battle was saying that her tablet is fuzzy, but the list is fuzzy on her tablet, but clear on her cell phone. And I'm not sure. It may be the weather. We're under severe thunderstorm right now. I don't know if you hear the thunder and lightning. I'm just praying
Yeah.
everything just stays. But I don't know if that's affecting. Um, and Teresa, what we're going to do is, if it's okay with Dr. Battle, I'll put a copy of this list on the Facebook page. Is that okay for
Mm-hmm.
me to do that, or is that okay?
Yes.
And I'll put
Mm-hmm.
that on the Facebook page, and you all can go back and get it a little bit later. All right.
Yeah.
You thought that too. Teresa thought the same thing. Yeah, I thought hospice meant like there's nothing else that they can do, and
Mm-mm.
then that's it. All right.
Mm-mm. And if
Anybody have any?
I'm sorry, can I just say one last thing?
No, I was. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, if your
Go
loved
ahead.
one does have an advanced illness and they may be dying in less than 6 months, you really want to support of hospice because they really teach you how to just make sure they can have a quality life and not suffering even at end of life. So it's that whole 6 months to a year you can benefit from hospice. But towards the end, please don't be afraid of hospice because the comfort that they can bring is amazing. And it doesn't mean they're going to stop everything or take away food or
Hmm.
medicine or any of that. It means they're going to contribute and provide more into your life medication, equipment, training, um, information so you know what's going to occur. Don't just please don't be afraid of hospice. Um, just know it's the
All
best thing
right.
the government has to care for you at home sometimes.
Uh, what does hospice mean?
Mm.
What
Hospice.
are those letter acronyms?
Mm-mm, no, it's a philosophy of care. Hospice is more a philosophy of care. It's care that's provided by a team, an interdisciplinary team. So you typically have a physician, a nurse, a social worker, a chaplain, and a nurse's aide. That's the core of your team. And the intent of hospice is to provide comfort when you have an advanced illness and you're approaching end of life, where we say 6 months to a year. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't get access to hospice until they're days or weeks away when you can benefit from it longer. But it's just providing that extra supportive care, improving quality of life, making sure the family is supported, and making sure the family is informed on how to care for their loved one.
Okay.
Mhm.
Regina Jones is on here. She said, "What about the caregiver who would love to get away for a while, but don't have anyone to relieve you, and you cannot leave your loved one alone because it's a safety issue. You have no money to do that." Hmm.
Um, I would say the word that we use for that scenario is if you need respite, RESPITE. So look up respite. Some insurances have a respite benefit in them. Medicare has a respite benefit up under it. Usually you have to go through Catholic Charity. If you're a veteran, you can go through the VA. There's other resources, but look up respite. Um, and
Can you
then
spell it again, Dr. Battle? I'll put it in the comments.
RESPITE. And it's just like a break or need to get away. If you enrolled in hospice, hospice has respite as part of the Medicare benefit, where they'll help you place your loved one in the nursing home. And all of the hospice care will transition to the nursing home. They'll still check on your loved one in the nursing home while you either step away, whether you're going on vacation or just want to be at home a week by yourself. And it's provided for up to 5 days in a row. And a lot of
Wow.
hospices will provide it either like quarterly or a couple times a year, but it's available under different
Okay.
resources. Hmm.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Dr. Battle? Let me see. Terry Smith says Catholic charities offer respite free.
Hmm.
Okay.
You just have to you have to apply for it, and you have to get approved for it, um, and go through the process. Catholic Charity also offers a lot of other resources, and just inquire. Just say, what does my loved one qualify for? They'll come out, they'll see what your need is, and most often they'll tell you. But if you think you need some, just request it, and they can tell you yay or nay. And also check their website; it'll show you the list. The VA and Catholic Charity. Look at their website. And also, if
Okay.
you have like someone with dementia, the Alzheimer's.org website will tell you a lot of the information that you need, a lot of the resources that are available, and the questions that you should pose to, like either the doctors, the social workers, who may be able to get you those access to resources. Oh, there's my brother in law, too.
All right. I mean, the
Mhm.
family is just coming in full force. That's wonderful.
Yeah, they support me. That's why I'm able to do all that I do. My family is wonderfully supportive. Not everyone has that.
Yeah.
Oh, can I say one last thing, Kat? I keep saying I'm gonna say the last thing.
Absolutely.
I
We
do
got
want to
time.
say
We got
this.
10 more minutes.
Don't get frustrated. Don't get angry if you haven't reached out and told someone what you need. Sometimes people will say, "Can I help you?" And you're so in the midst of caring for someone, you don't even know what to request. Take the time to sit down and write down what others can help you with, whether it's grocery shopping, helping to clean. Can you come sit at the house for 2 hours so I can go to church on Sunday? Write down the things that could potentially help you, especially those things that allow you to care for yourself. And then when someone says, "Can I help you?" you have a list that you can pick from. Or if you know there are other people in your family, call and make the request. Because don't assume that anyone knows that you need some help. Don't make that assumption. Don't get mad because no one's helping you because you haven't said anything. Make sure you reach out and say, "Can you help me do this?" And be specific.
Okay.
People want to help, but they need
Um,
you to be specific.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Here's another question. Do you know of any mega churches that may have programs that you are aware of?
Yes. I know my church has a program for caregivers. So, New Faith Baptist Church International in Matson. And I also work with Life Church. And I hope it's okay, Miss Jackie. I hope you're on here for me to share. But Life Church in Chicago Heights, they have a phenomenal caregiving program as well.
Okay. Terry Smith Ashford said it's not income based, but based on caregiver need. They give
Mhm.
about 2,500. I wonder if she's talking about the Catholic
That
charities. I'm not
is.
quite sure. I had to go back up and look at the.
It could
Okay.
be Catholic
Jeff
charity.
Welch.
That's my uncle. It could be Catholic charity or VA. Both of them offer stipends to family. The VA will actually pay for you to care for your loved one in the home. Hi, Uncle.
Hey,
Mhm.
Uncle Jeff. Everybody's here. I'm just meeting the whole family. This is wonderful. Okay. Um, Teresa put NFBCI. What is that?
That's New Faith Baptist Church International. So
Okay.
if you're looking for caregiver support, we do have a caregiver program at New Faith, and Life Church does
Okay.
too. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Battle, I don't see any other questions. We're close to the end of the
Yes,
hour.
ma'am.
I want to thank you so much. Oh my goodness, this was just very informative. I had no idea of the things that caregivers experience. And this is some rich information. You have people in here that are caring for people. I know that this was
Mhm.
very, very helpful. Thank you so much of giving of your time and hanging out with us. I know that you're busy, and I'm hoping that we can do some more preventative measures. very, very soon. Do you have any
Absolutely.
final comments or remarks that you would like to do? You can do that now.
Yes, my final comment is when we talk about preventative measures, if you're a caregiver, please take the time to take care of yourself. You can do that in 5 to 10 minutes a day at the start or the end of your day, whether it's walking, drinking extra water, getting extra sleep, going outside, getting some fresh air when it's safe to do so, calling a friend, watching a movie. You can do something that's no cost, something that's enjoyable to you, but I'll tell you, if you don't prioritize yourself and create a habit of doing it, you won't do it. So if you don't put yourself on your to do list, it's not going to happen. So be very intentional and say, every Friday, I'm doing this. Every Monday, I'm doing this. Once a day, I'm going to take 5 minutes to just sit and close my eyes and deep breathe. Make yourself a priority, make it a habit.
I
That's
think
it.
Teresa put on there, it was like a nugget. She said, self care is not selfish. I think that's what she put. I was like, ooh, that's good.
Mhm. A
That was
lot
like
of
a
people,
nugget. I could have put like
yeah,
a, yeah, I put, that was good. That was good. That was
Teresa,
good.
that was
All
wonderful
right.
because a lot of people say if they're taking me time, they feel like they're being selfish. It's not. I think you're selfish if you don't, because if you go down, what is your loved one going to do?
Right.
Hmm.
Right. I definitely agree.
Okay. Well, thank you,
Okay,
Miss
Dr.
Cat, for
Battle.
having
Oh
me.
my
I
gosh.
appreciate it. My pleasure.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This was awesome. You all say bye to Dr. Battle. We're going to see her again soon. Thank you so much, Dr. Battle.
You're
Oh
very
my
welcome.
gosh. All right.
Take
All right.
care.
Take care, Dr. Battle. Okay. Let's see.